Howdy, y'all, and welcome to this weekend's episode on David's Saturday Night Sitback. Today, I'm joined by Mike Henley, an underwriter, financial analyst, world traveler, brand builder, and fitness fiend. Mike is one of those guests whose intro was hard to write because he keeps his online presence pretty minimal, but from what I can tell, he's a New York native and first-generation college grad with his bachelor's in finance from St. John's University. He's traveled to places such as Chicago, Miami, San Diego, Nashville, Mexico, Croatia, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic. When he's not traveling or underwriting, you can find this man sipping passion tequila with pit bull puppies, running half marathons in Houston, networking with entrepreneurs in exotic places, and he might be a New York Red Bulls and UFC fan. Mike and I met on the boardwalk here in Austin, Texas, thanks to our dogs wanting to meet, and while they were sniffing each other out, Mike and I got to talking. I really enjoyed his energy and the small conversation that we had, so I invited him on the podcast today to talk all things fitness, business, mindset, brand building, acquisition, and the dichotomy of social media. Mike Henley, excited to dive into your life experiences today. Thank you for being here, and welcome to your episode on David's Saturday Night Sitback.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I heard you chuckling while I was reading that. What were you laughing at?
It was just that was a solid intro.
Yeah. I broke my own rule.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Heck yeah.
I wasn't expecting all that, but that was good. I liked it.
Sum up your life, okay?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, better than I could do it probably.
Dude, you were a challenge because you don't. Some people have 2,000 posts on their Instagram, and when I go to start prepping for those, I'm just like, dang, this is going to take me 3 hours. But when I pulled up yours 3 or 4 mornings ago, I pulled up your LinkedIn, pulled up your Instagram. LinkedIn didn't have much. Instagram had 20 posts on it. It's like, I have my work cut out for me. I have to make this guy sound good. I have nothing to work with.
That was great though. World traveler, underwriter, acquisition. I liked it. It was great. So
before we get started here, knowing what you know about your personal life, why would you encourage the audience to stick around for this episode?
I just think, I don't know, somebody that's interested in, fitness, business, and kind of just like those two main topics. They might be interested to kind of get a little glimpse into my life and just kind of some things that I've done or what I'm trying to do, and maybe they can relate to it.
Excellent. I think that if I could add on to that, the audience should stick around just because you're a very genuine person. We worked out right before this, which the audience didn't know about this, and my gut intuition for who I thought you were on the boardwalk was exactly who I thought you were at the gym. You're friendly, you're kind, you're a hard worker, and there could be a few surprises. One of my favorite things about podcasting is in a second, I'm going to show you a picture of yourself that's about 10 years old. And sometimes when we start talking about you and dissecting your own life for an hour, you have these memories unlocked and you're like, darn, I completely forgot about that until this moment. So we could go down some routes that even you and I aren't expecting today.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Before we jump into your earlier life, you're on a new adventure here in Austin. You've been here about 6 months. Could you tell us a little bit about where you were before Austin and how you landed in Austin and why you came here?
Yeah, sure. So originally I was born in upstate New York, kind of near like Saratoga, if anybody's familiar with the racetrack, the lake, Battle of Saratoga. Those three things are pretty much the only reasons you're going to know Saratoga, maybe Saratoga water, but I was from a town like 45 minutes away. It's called Gloversville. So I just say the biggest town that's kind of closest there to where I was from. And then as of last year or a couple of years ago, I moved down to Houston. I kind of went down there for a work trip and then also to visit an old friend that I went to St. John's with back in New York City. So, I came down for the long weekend for work and then to meet him. And it just seemed like it was a great weekend. Everything went right that you could possibly think of. And then I just decided to kind of get out of upstate New York and get down south and move to Houston, where I stuck around for about a year or so, I think roughly 9 or 10 months. But I remember coming up to Austin when I forgot what hurricane was, a Hurricane Beryl that happened in Houston, I think it was. And basically my apartment really wasn't damaged much for the most part, but we didn't have electricity and the whole town was kind of just trying to recover. So went to Austin for about a week And then I realized when I got here, I'm like, I don't understand why I just didn't move here in the first place. I mean, nothing against Houston. I lived in a good part of Houston. I had, a lot of friends there and whatnot, but I feel like it just made sense as far as, like the atmosphere here, as far as like, you go on the boardwalk and everybody is just getting after it. They're running, they're walking. You go to gym. I go to Lift ATX. We went to Gold's this morning.
You get invited on podcasts.
You get invited on podcasts, exactly. First one, by the way. So.
Not the last.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much what brought me to Austin. I just thought it would be a good change as far as the business and like the fitness atmosphere here.
And so you said it wasn't Saratoga. It was a place called Gloversville?
Yeah.
Hometown? Do you know the population of that place?
I think like 15 to 20,000, I want to say. Gloversville, so that name comes from, they actually used to be the glove-making capital of the world.
It had all 15K people just hammering out gloves all day.
Yeah, so that's where all the factories used to be. I don't think there's really any active ones there still. But, yeah, like it used to be the main hub for like all around the world, or the United States at least, for glove making and stuff, like in the early 1900s up until probably like the 1950s, I want to say.
What was that like growing up in a town of 15,000 people?
It was different. I mean, Gloversville, it's a small city. There is kind of like a city element to it, but then there's also, you can go 15 minutes, 20 minutes out, and then you're at the Adirondacks, the Adirondack State Park that has like a lot of mountains and lakes and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like everybody just knew each other, obviously. I mean, I probably graduated with a class of, I think it was like 200. So it was still a relatively decent sized school, I guess. But
no, that's small.
Yeah, that is pretty small. Yeah.
That's small, Mike.
Yeah. So 200, but there was a lot of like bordering schools that had classes of like 20 to like 30.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
For context purposes, yeah, that's sort of mid-sized, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from a school where my class alone was 700.
Damn.
And the school total was about 3,000. So
wow. That's
why when you said 200, I was like, oh, that's like 1/3 of my graduating class is your entire school.
Yeah.
What was it? Was being in a small town? I've never lived in a small town, so my assumption would sort of be like everyone's in everyone's business. If you and the boys are like getting drunk behind someone's barn, like that person's probably gonna find you and tell your parents, and like hard to get into trouble. Are all those stereotypes like sort of correct, or like what was, to the best of your recollection, from like 0 years old to 12 years old, like what was childhood in Gloversville, New York like?
I feel like it was fun for the most part. I spent a lot of early years just playing sports through school. I mean, I played basketball, football, and baseball from like an early age. As far as what to do for fun, yeah, like when we got like a little bit older, we would always just be like having bonfires and getting drunk. Like, to your point, be like just like some random spot in the woods, just behind somebody's house, or somebody that has like a lot of land like on the outskirts of the city. Go out there and hang out. Yeah, do stuff like that. I mean, the lake was also pretty fun. I didn't really start going there until I got older, because I mean, I didn't have like a way to get on the lake. I mean, we were younger, so we're not going to own like boats or anything like that.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I spent a lot of my time. I used to ride bikes, we used to just get into a whole lot of shit, just bored, I guess.
Who was your best mate when you were growing up?
He's best friend to this day. His name's Zach. So I still talk to him pretty often. But yeah, we go way back. I remember the first time I met this dude, I hated him.
I hated you too the first time I met him.
Yeah.
What happened? What was the context of that meeting?
I think I met him, I think, in like 6th grade, and I was passing out papers in our class, and he was a new kid. And I remember passing him out, and he was just like mean mugging me, and then I was mean mugging him, and I was like, I don't know, just we didn't. It was just like didn't work out immediately, but then we uh, we just started hanging out, and then he kind of like came into our friend group and whatnot. And I remember one time I lent him my bike. I don't even know why. He was like, "Can I use your bike?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why the hell not?" And I didn't hear from him for like a couple weeks, and then I go to his house to get my bike back, and literally he has like porn like hub stickers on it and stuff like that. It's locked up, and I'm talking to his like stepfather out on the porch, and he's like this big intimidating dude, just smoking a cigarette, just like I'm like I'm here for Zach, and he's like, oh, he's not here, and I'm like, well, I need my bike. He's like, let me call him. So he calls, gets the code. I get the bike back, and then I go and get the what's that stuff you put on like Goo Gone or whatever?
Yes.
To get off like the stickers.
Gone.
So I'm like, I gotta get this off before like my parents see this, and they're gonna be like, what the hell? Like, why are you first lending your bike out? Why is there Pornhub stickers on it?
Yeah.
It was something like that. It was something stupid, or like I love boobies. Remember those like bracelets or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something like that. Yeah.
So in a way, did that like, even though it was sort of annoying to have to take it off, did that sort of bring you guys closer, or did that like deepen the hatred for a little bit of time?
No, yeah. I mean, now I'm like, okay, like he didn't steal my bike, so that's cool. I guess I could trust him a little bit.
A little bit.
And then, yeah, then we just started hanging out and stuff, and yeah, to this day, I mean, we talk a lot, and yeah, I mean, he's probably like my best friend, one of my best friends to this day. So
That's awesome. Is he still in New York?
yeah, he's in New York. He's in upstate New York,
Okay.
kind of. So we grew up in the same town, and then he ended up moving away a little bit in high school, like to Saratoga area, Binghamton, and whatnot. And then he lives like kind of like near Albany, which is like an hour away from my hometown now.
I'm starting to know a little bit of geography because the buddy I've mentioned to you 4 times today, Tyler, he just moved here from, I think he was born in Saratoga Springs.
Oh, shit.
And sort of hopped around like upper New York, and he was in
Yeah.
Albany and moved a few other places around there. But he ultimately came to Austin just because he hated the winters there.
Me
And
too.
he's a little younger than you. I think he's turning 25 this August. So, he finally got a little bit of money, a little bit of independence, and he was like, I am out of here. I need to go somewhere warm. And he landed in Austin.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty much what I did. So I understand the winters. I mean, that was like literally my least favorite thing about upstate New York. It was the summers there probably the best, like in terms of weather and the stuff you can do, hiking, the boat, the lakes and stuff like that. But winter, like 9 months out of the year, it's just like, eh.
yeah. What was in that same time frame, or maybe even going into high school? What's one of your favorite memories that you look back on and you're like, man, that was a good day. That was a good outing. That was a good bonfire. That was a good whatever it was. You got anything coming to mind?
And yeah, that's a tough question. I'm trying to think. I mean, I had a lot of memories, but just like one day that comes to mind. Mm, I don't know. Maybe come back on that one. I'm trying to think.
You ever do any doorbell ditching?
Ding dong ditch.
Yeah. Ding dong ditch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we used to do that stuff like back in the day, and then, it sounds kind of like an asshole, but we used to go around and like smash people's pumpkins, like after Halloween or during Halloween, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did stuff like that. I'm trying to think like one day in particular. I don't know.
There was one time we were ding dong ditching people, and we rang the doorbell, ran across the street, jumped into these shrubs, and the guy opens the door, and this massive dog comes out. Like, it could have been a smaller dog, but when you're a kid, everything looks bigger. Like, have you ever gone back to a childhood spot
Yeah.
and you thought, like, you had these grand memories of it, and then you're sort of looking around and you're like, this place is sort of not that cool at all. But at the time, we just thought this was a monster of a dog. And we were so scared that this thing was going to rip us to shreds that we just jumped out of those shrubs and ran in the opposite direction as fast as our legs could carry us until we felt like it wasn't on our tails anymore. And that was probably the first time I thought, like, I am going to die because I'm a stupid kid causing havoc in this little neighborhood
Yeah.
for no reason at all except boredom, and it seemed fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what it comes down to is just boredom and what can we possibly get away with pretty much when you're younger, I feel like.
Yeah. This might be when you were a little bit older, but I snagged a couple pictures off your Instagram. And this one is from August 22nd, 2015, when you were visiting Brooklyn. Do you remember this picture?
Yeah, I do.
Who, I'm assuming, are you the kid in the white shirt or the red one?
Yeah, I'm in the white shirt. And that's actually my friend that I was talking about.
Is that Zach?
Yeah, that's him.
Yo, what's up, Zach?
Yeah. So, yeah, what were we doing in this picture? Oh, we were visiting one of my friends whose aunt or his grandmother lived in Brooklyn at the time, down like Coney Island area. But we were down in the city and we were doing college visits. So, well, that's what the plan was originally. we we ended up just doing a bunch of like half-assed like college visits. We went down to like look at Baruch, Fordham, Brooklyn College. I think we went to Brooklyn College before this. And then we were just like staying with his family up in the Bronx because he has family from the Bronx that live there. And yeah, we were just exploring, just walking around. Looks like we went to Foot Locker before that. But yeah, this was like down like Coney Island area when we were visiting my friend.
Did you get down there that much? Or because it's a couple hours, probably like 4 or 5 hours from where you were, right?
It's about 3.5 hours. I guess it depends what part of the city you want to go to. Like if you're going to go down to Coney Island, then that might be a little bit more than 4 because you got to go through everything, and Brooklyn's a little bit more south. But I mean, 2015. So that was 10 years ago. So I was like 17, 18 at that time. So yeah, just like graduating high school and looking into colleges to possibly go to.
Did you have you been in Manhattan?
Yeah,
What do you think of that town or that part of town? I guess.
I like Manhattan. Certain parts are pretty cool. Like when I used to live down in Brooklyn, this was years later. After I graduated from St. John's, which was over in Queens. Yeah, that's where I worked. I worked in the financial district downtown in Fidei, so I loved it down in Fidei. It was really cool down there. Actually used to work at 4 World Trade Center on like the 47th floor, so it was like a really cool view. I loved it a lot. Some of my other favorite neighborhoods, like Lower East Side, that's really good for like going out like in your early 20s and stuff like that. Little Italy is really cool. I mean, I love Italian, so I'd be there a lot, you know. Go to I forgot what it was off the top of my head. One of my favorite restaurants down on Mulberry Street. Go get Italian there. The next door there's like a Ferrara's Bakery, and that's where you can just get like probably one of the best cannolis in the city.
Yeah, dude. I went to New York about a month ago, and we to visit my sister. She lives out there, and I figured probably should go visit. Well, I got a free place to stay, save a few bucks, and we went to Little Italy one day, and we meant to get some cannolis, and we got so distracted. We got some pizza. We were walking around. We got some other stuff, and then I think we had to leave because we had tickets to a Broadway show. And so as we were walking back to her place to change and have dinner and then go to the show, we were halfway back taking a mix of Subways and walking. And I was like, dude, we forgot the cannolis. Like, I wanted to have a cannoli while I was in New York. Damn it.
You can't forget the cannolis.
We forgot the cannolis.
Oh, damn. Well, you have to get back. And I remember the name of the restaurant now. It's on, it's on Mulberry Street. It's called Danico. So Dnaico. And then right next door is Ferrara's Bakery. I mean, there's a bunch of different Italian restaurants on that street, but that was probably like one of my favorites, I'd say.
Love that. All right. Here is another picture of you. This one's about 2 years later, and you're in Jersey. This was part of your intro. Drinking passion with pit bull puppies. Do you remember what that occasion was?
Yeah, I do. So This was when I was at St. John's. I just started going to St. John's in August of 2017, and one of my friends, um, who I pledged with in my fraternity, he bought this little, I think it's a French bulldog. So he had like a little French bulldog that like he would just bring everywhere, and I remember him having his parents had like a place in Edgewater, New Jersey. So we just went there and we were drinking a little bit, and this brand right here, Tequila Pasión, is actually his family's brand out of Mexico City. So we were drinking that, and that's like when it was relatively new. So his family just sent in like cases and cases of it, and it was pink tequila. It was pretty good, but the next day the hangover was just like terrible.
It's high sugar.
Honestly, I have no idea.
If it was pink, I would imagine it was probably high sugar.
Yeah.
Sounds like maybe it was flavored like a grapefruit or something. Or
I'm trying to remember. I feel like it was a little bit flavored, but it tasted like regular tequila for the most part, so it wasn't like too sugary. But I remember it was like really good. And then that was the little dog. That
cute dog.
Yeah. So I would just like take a picture. I think I was probably a little drunk. I'm like, hey, take a picture of me.
Yeah, dude, you've grown up a little bit. Like I could tell that was you, but you've changed a bit.
I look like I'm like 12 in this picture.
You do a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you right now?
27.
So you were probably 19 there, give or take?
Let's see. Probably like 20, yeah, 19, 20, something like that.
Baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Still got one, but this is like way more crazy.
The mustache and the goatee is helping out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're succeeding. It's good. It's good.
This is like a month process right here.
Like this is me not shaving for one morning for 1 year.
Yeah. Yep.
What was high school like?
High school was good. I feel like I hung out with like a little bit of like everybody. I played sports. Obviously, the main sport that I usually played through high school was basketball. Yeah, I mean, it was good for the most part. It was small, but I don't really have any complaints. I think Gloversville gets shit on a lot for being like the town it is, but I think we had a lot of good teachers. And a lot of good programs, like believe it or not, just I don't know, like if you knew the background of like Gloversville and like kind of how the town is shaped, then you'd be like kind of like, like is that actually a good school? But yeah, I think it was pretty good for the most part. I still have a handful of friends from high school. Obviously, a lot of us kind of like drifted apart after, but that's just life. It's normal.
Yeah.
But there's also a couple other people that I still talk to and we'll go on vacation with and stuff.
Do you still have family in or friends in that area, or do you feel like most people sort of ventured out at some point?
I think most people end up staying in the town, getting comfortable there and not breaking out. But there also is a select few that'll break out and find something else and realize that there's like a little bit more to see in the world than just, Fulton County and like the cities surrounding.
Did you ever have any intention to play ball in college or to go pro with it, or is it more of just something to do for fun while you were growing up?
Well, I thought I was better than I really was. That's why I quit all my other sports when I was, I think it was like 9th or 10th grade. I quit baseball and football just to go all in on basketball. But looking back on it, I didn't go as hard as I should have. Wasn't in the weight room, doing too much extracurriculars, partying, riding bikes, not showing up to open gyms and stuff. But if I really like dedicated myself to it, I probably could have played maybe, I'm not going to say maybe D1, but I definitely going to play college ball somewhere.
Yeah.
But I kind of just, I don't know. I just didn't see it as the big picture at the time.
I was the opposite of you. That I was probably worse than I really was, or I thought I was. I was terrible at basketball, dude. I played through either my sophomore or my junior year. Just my eye-hand coordination was shit. And so the fact that I ended up being a little bit of a gym rat was very surprising to me. But it's so much different, playing basketball versus lifting weights. But I sort of hated sports because I was so bad at them. But then when I was 18, I walked into a gym for the first time, and I was like, oh, baby,
Same.
this is different.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what happened to me. Like, I love playing sports, but I hated working out. Like, I didn't lift until, yeah, probably like I was 18 and about to graduate high school. Um, like when we'd have our like weight room sessions for sports and stuff, like most of the time we were just dicking around, skipping workouts, and I mean, we were pretty good, like our basketball team, like skill wise and fundamental, but we would get bodied by like some bigger teams who were like actually in the weight room and taking it seriously. So maybe it's a little fault on the coaching staff as well for not pushing that, but it's also us. Like nobody wanted to lift. Well, for me, for the most part, and like my team, I'd say like the last couple of years, it was just like, eh.
I wonder if that's a small town thing, because like in Austin, there's a couple high schools that just pump out big dudes.
Beasts.
Like they are getting these kids ready to go to, be Division I athletes. And like if we ever happen to work out at different goals that I might take, the one I mentioned that is my favorite one to hit a chest at.
Yeah.
We'll go there. And you'll probably see a couple dudes where you're going to think they're like 22, 24 just because of how much weight they're putting up. And then if you go talk to them for a minute, like one of them that I met, I was like, so dude, what are you doing for college or what do you do for work? And he said, oh, I'm a junior in high school. I was like, no way, bro.
I was like, how?
Like, you're so big. I just saw you squat 315 for 5 reps. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a squat was when I was a junior in high school. And you're over here repping out 315 like it's butter.
I was probably quarter repping like plates on each side for squats. I couldn't even bench a plate in high school. I could tell you that. So I don't know, just see some of those kids putting up the weight now. I'm like, holy shit, like they got potential,
Yeah, dude, there's some big. I'm pretty sure the city of Austin is just pouring creatine into the water. So if you find yourself also doubling in size, it could be a mix of hard work mixed with just drinking local Austin water.
It's creatine and then HGH. They're probably feeding that from like when they're babies,
Yeah, and then I'm at the top of this mountain pouring DMP into the water too.
Yeah, DMP, HGH, creatine. Yeah. You got a Division I athlete right there.
Yeah. To the best of your recollection, when it got to be senior year, did you want to go to college? Were your parents pushing for that? Was it just sort of like this is what all my friends are doing, so I'm going to do it? Like, why'd you go the college route?
Well, I guess to be honest, I didn't really have much of a plan until like the last couple months before graduation. Honestly, I was just over high school and I was doing probably the bare minimum just to graduate. But I did pretty well like the years leading up to that. Like pretty good grades. Let's just say like, I don't know, like B plus, B student, like, decent. But then I don't know, I just wanted to get done with it. I didn't really have a plan. I formulated this like half-ass plan a couple months before graduation. I'm like, I'm going to go to this community college. It's called Hudson Valley Community College and do their linesman program. So like working for, I don't know if you heard of like National Grid, but they're like a utilities company.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like working on the lines and, fixing power outages and stuff like that. It was like a 1.5-year program, and I knew that I could make like some pretty good money just after that, and I didn't want to do any more school. But then I don't know. Then I just started. I feel like I've always had like a business mind, so I just hit an audible real quick. I'm like, actually, I'm gonna go to this other local community college and do business because I want to go and work in. I want to work in. I literally just said I want to work on Wall Street one day. I want to work in the financial district. So I feel like that was a good step because first I didn't take like the SATs or anything like that. I think that's SAT, right? Is that right? Okay, see, I don't even know. See, I've never taken one of those, and I was just like, okay, I can get a community college, and then I can just get like transfer into a bigger school after.
And how do you choose St. John's? Is it convenience or?
Honestly, it's because they gave me, I got like a pretty good like scholarship when I transferred from the community college to there. My first choice was Syracuse University. I'm a big Syracuse fan to this day. But I mean, they were running like 75,000 per year, and they weren't going to give me any money to go there. So it just didn't make any sense. And then I also didn't get into the business school that I wanted to. And then St. John's, they gave me a bunch of money, and I got into their business school, and it was in New York City, close to the financial district. So
What was the scholarship based on?
um, so it was like a combination of grades. So like I had pretty decent grades.
So did you pump those up a little bit at some point?
Yeah. I did pretty good in community college. Probably, I don't know, maybe like a 3.4, 3.5 or something. So that's pretty decent. For the not a 4.0, never can't.
It's better than what I had. As a
Yeah.
3.0 or better,
Yeah.
I was getting like A's in high school, and then in college I got lazy, and I was like, I just need a 3.0 to graduate. All right, season up. That's all I'm shooting for.
Yeah. So yeah, the scholarship was like a combination of it was like a transfer. Then it was like they call it like a transfer scholarship. I don't even remember the terminology, but it was like a combination of grades and then also because I'm transferring.
And what do you think was the biggest difference between the Mikey who showed up at St. John's in day one and Mikey on graduation date? Was there any kind of transformation during that time?
Um, yeah, I think Mikey that showed up to St. John's was I don't know. I feel like I feel like I was taking the right steps to get where I wanted, but I also didn't know. I'm just like, oh, I just want to move there. Then I want to work on Wall Street. I want to do investment banking and stuff like that. And then when I graduated, I realized that, I mean, it's kind of hard to get into that. I mean, usually investment banking, like companies and stuff like that, they're looking for, target schools like Ivy League and Baruch and, schools like that. So at that point, I was just okay, I just need to get a job,
Yeah.
So I guess just having more clarity. I feel like I had that uninformed optimism when I started. And then,
Uninformed optimism. I love that.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, uninformed optimism, and then I kind of switched to, you know, having that informed like pessimism after. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard. But then, I'm just like, okay, it's a numbers game, so I'll just start sending applications like hundreds and hundreds a week, and then I finally just landed a job in insurance, and then kind of just started from there.
Before I show you this last picture I pulled from your Instagram,
Sure.
where are your parents from? Did they also grow up in Gloversville, or did they move there at some point from somewhere else?
Yeah, so they're from the town over from Gloversville. It's Johnstown. It's basically the same city,
Sure.
town.
Okay.
Literally, it's you could probably throw a baseball from my hometown house to the border of Johnstown. So it was pretty damn close. Like we were rivals and like coming up in sports. Like it was always a big Gloversville Johnstown rivalry.
Yeah. What'd your parents do?
So my mom, she's retired, but she worked for the state of New York, and she pretty much like worked on like the roads. Like she plowed the roads in the wintertime, like so people can get back and forth to work and stuff like that. And then in the summertime she would like work on the roads as far as like paving them and stuff like that. So she was like Department of Transportation for New York.
Okay. What about your dad?
My dad, he works in like this factory at home. He's like the manager at this factory where they do like textile work and they put patterns on like specific fabrics. Like I guess for example, like one of their bigger customers is I forgot what casino it is, but they're out in Las Vegas and they'll like do some of like their pattern work that you'll see like on the walls in the casinos and stuff like that. So yeah, he's still doing that right now.
Okay. And then brothers or sisters? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I got a sister.
You older or younger?
Younger. She is 20. She's 24.
What was your guys'? Were you guys pretty close growing up?
Yeah, I'd say I think we're closer now. Um, I mean, I guess we weren't all that too close in high school. We were only because like the age gap and everything, we were only like in the same school for like 1 year, like when I graduated. Um, but yeah, after the fact, like, college and stuff, I think we became a little bit closer. She came and visited last year down in Houston for like a long weekend. So
Nice.
that was fun.
Me and my brother are 4 years apart, and his junior year, I was in eighth grade,
Yeah.
and that year we were going to this private Christian university, and he got kicked out for smoking weed on campus. He got expelled like 2 months before the school year ended. So then, fast forward 6 months, and I'm going into the same high school as a freshman, and I still remember on the first day. The teacher was doing roll call, and since my name starts with an A, I was like 2 or 3 from the top, and she looks at it and she says David O'Clair, which no one ever pronounces my name right when they see it for the first time. And I said, "Yep, here." And she says, "Is your older brother Mark O'Clair?" And I said, "Yep, sure is." And she just goes, "Oh, I'll be keeping my eye on you." And I was like, "Hang on now."
Yeah, that's
Just
not me.
because my brother got kicked out of school for smoking weed doesn't mean I'm going to follow in the exact same path. What do you
Yeah.
mean you're keeping an eye on me? So that's sort of why I didn't like the small school mentality, is just because, like, with everyone being in each other's business, it was almost like too close to home. So when my parents finally let me transfer to the local public school and my class alone had those 700 people, you could almost in some ways get lost in the crowd in a good way, where like the attention's not all on you, where at the same time like you could sort of find your circle of friends, because you no longer just had this population of like 60 kids to choose from. You
Hmm.
had 700. Like, I didn't even meet everyone in my
Yeah.
class before I graduated, you know.
Yeah.
So here's the last picture for you. You
Okay.
remember this day? You better.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's when I graduated. I remember.
First gin graduator right there.
That's right.
How'd your parents feel about that?
I think they were. I think they were really proud. Um, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they're happy. They seemed happy. They came all the way down from upstate New York and dealt with this whole St. John's graduation ceremony. It was just like a freaking zoo there, just thousands of people. It was just a lot. Um, so yeah, I think they're excited.
How'd you feel about that day?
I felt good. I was like, I'm finally done. I'm ready to make some money. That's what I was itching for. I need a job. I need a job. And a lot of people that I was in school with, they already had jobs lined up and stuff like that. I'm like, how? Like, I've been applying. I've been going to these job fairs. I've been, trying to network and do all this, that. But, I still haven't found that job. And that's what I was kind of stressing about, because I'm like, okay, I mean, lease is going to end soon, at the house that I was sharing with like a bunch of different friends. And it's just like, okay, I mean, if I don't have money to pay for it, then I I want to stay in New York City, but if I don't find that, then I'm probably have to move back upstate for the time being to kind of, you know, be able to live.
So did you have to move back upstate, or were you able to find that first job on Wall Street pretty quickly?
Yeah, so the first job that I found, it wasn't, well, I guess, okay, so the first job that I found, it was just taking what I could find. Um, I was applying for a couple months after graduation, kind of just making that a job itself. Just like, hey, like today from 9 to 5, I'm just gonna be
Oof.
submitting applications.
Yeah.
So like hundreds, probably. I mean, a solid 40, 50, probably like a solid like 200 a week.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, I was just desperate. I'm like, anything that looks good and it's paying decent, I'm just gonna take it. Honestly, anything that pays at all.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I was going back and forth. So I still had my lease in Queens, in New York, and I was going back and forth. Like I would spend probably the week down there, because I had a lot of friends that were still living there for the summer, and then I'd go back up on the weekends for like the lake life and whatnot. I had a jet ski back then, so
Nice.
I would just tow it around with my my Chevy Malibu.
Yes.
It was funny as shit. It probably looked so stupid, but I didn't give a shit. I was having fun. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so it took probably like a couple months to find that first job, and then the one job that I really wanted to start was like an insurance job. It was like a good gig, more money. It just seemed like a better environment, but they were taking a long time to answer. And the other job, I forgot what it was called. I think it was like MUFG or something like that, Mitsubishi Financial Bank or something like that. I don't even remember, but I started there, and then just like the atmosphere there, and then like the manager that I was reporting to, I was like, damn, this is probably gonna suck, and it did suck. Yeah, I don't even know what I was doing, to be honest. It was just like they weren't explaining what I was doing, but they were just like mindlessly going through the computer, like, you just do this, then this, then this. I'm like, yeah, but what are we actually doing here? Like, what's the process? And they're just like, just don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, well, okay. But then like a couple weeks later, I finally heard back from that other job, and then I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna go for it. I told them, I'm like, hey, I have the doctor's appointment, and that was the number one red flag. They were like, oh, you have a doctor's appointment? You just started 2 weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, I mean,
I'm dying.
obviously I'm lying, but you know, if you're gonna get that pissed over a doctor's appointment, it's like, damn, do I really see myself here long term? So I ended up going and then finding that other job, which was in insurance. It was a company called Validus Specialty, which is like a subsidiary of AIG. And that's kind of where I started in like the insurance world down in the financial district.
Did you ever watch Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, many times.
It's such a good movie. I'm due for a rewatch. It's been, I think I may have watched it during COVID in like 2020 when we were all just sitting at home and wondering what was going on with the world. But even though were you selling insurance, or what was your job in that when you were at Validus?
Yes. So I worked in the product recall division as an underwriter. So basically my job was the main core function of it was to underwrite like applications that are coming in from manufacturers, distributors, companies like that need product recall insurance. And basically, we'd run it through the model and then be like, hey, this is the terms we're going to offer for insurance. And then another aspect of the job was like broker relationships. So the only way you're really going to get those submissions and the files to actually underwrite is to have a good relationship with a broker which the brokers have good relationships with the client. So it was a lot of like, buddy stuff and making friendships and relationships with brokers and stuff like that. It was cool. I mean, I'm definitely grateful for the opportunity that I had.
In hindsight, and before I ask this question, let me just preface this by saying the point of this podcast is not to discourage kids from going to college. The purpose of having 120 plus people on and telling their personal stories is to provide people with dozens of different perspectives of how they could go about their own life and how they should form their own decision-making process. So knowing what you know now, do you think, would you have still taken the same path? Or do you think if there is something you could have changed, would you have gone back and, risked playing with the butterfly effect and changed anything, whether it was what school you went to, worked harder in high school, what your major was? Like if I could snap my fingers and send you back to any point of your life and change something, would you fuck with it at all? Or would you sort of leave everything as is?
I guess, like for me personally, I mean, I feel like everything led up to like where I am now. So if I switched any of that, like who knows what would have happened. But I guess if I had like advice for somebody that say, wanted to do like be an entrepreneur, like get into their own like line of business or work, real estate, etc., then I mean, personally, if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have gone to college at all.
Yeah,
I would.
same here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have gone, do you think? What would you have done instead if at 18 years old you could have had a crystal ball and seen that in May of 2025 you would have been sitting here with David and you're like, "Huh, I don't know about this trajectory. What do you think you might have done different?"
Well, if I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do, I would just find, like, say it's you want to be in real estate development or something like that, which not a lot of 18-year-olds are going to, have that in mind. But if you do,
Right.
then great. I would literally just find a mentor. That could be somebody that's already doing the thing or already did the thing that you want to do. And then kind of latch onto them. Obviously, just don't be like, hey, like, teach me everything. A lot of people, they will want to help out the younger generation and whatnot, but basically find somebody that's doing it. You have very low expenses at that, that early age. Typically, you're still living with your parents. Find somebody that's doing the thing and offer to basically work for them for free or just work on something that they hate doing.
Yeah, there's a Have you gone to KG Barbecue by chance since you've lived in Austin? It's a food truck.
No, I have not.
If you ever want to go, I'm always down.
Let's do it.
But the owner of it, he was born and raised in Cairo, and his family's expectation.
Egypt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And his family's expectations was you go to school, you get a job in banking, you make a shit ton of money, and you work 80 hours a week, and you provide for your family, and that's what you do. So he did most of that. He went to school, got his degree in finance, got a job for I think one of the largest banks in Cairo, and was from the outside, living a good life in the sense that he had money, a prestigious job, things of that nature. So he uses his money one day to take a vacation to Austin, Texas. And in Cairo, they don't use brisket. They don't use that cut of meat because I think it's seen as like unclean or something.
Oh, really?
And so they throw that part of the meat out. They toss
Damn.
it. So he comes to Austin, and one of his friends who lived here, who's showing him around, takes him to a restaurant, and they order brisket. And it is the best meat that he's ever had in his life. So he goes back to Cairo. He quits his job, liquidates all of his assets, and uses that money to come to Austin. And then he does exactly what you just said and starts knocking on every door of every barbecue joint saying, I will mop your floors, I will take out the trash. You tell me what to do, and I will work for free. If when I'm not working, you will teach me everything I need to know about barbecuing. And finally, a chef said yes. They agreed to it. So he tutored under him for, I forget if it was a couple weeks or a couple months, but once he sort of learned the tricks of the trade, he opened a food truck here in Austin, Texas. And now, dude, he's like one of the rising stars in American barbecue. He was on a Netflix show. He was on this podcast. He's won a bunch of accolades. And they're about on the brink of outgrowing their food truck. And I know he's searching through Austin now for physical locations so that they can open a second spot to mitigate all the growth that they're handling. But it was just interesting for you to say what you just said. Because Kareem did that. That's exactly what he did. He put it all on the line and risked everything to do something that he actually wanted to do.
You said it was KRG or?
His name's Kareem. I think it's Kreem, but the name of the joint is called KG Barbecue.
Oh, KG Barbecue.
And it's the first initial. It's the initials of his name, basically Kareem El Gayesh, and then barbecue.
Damn, I'll have to try it out.
And they have this lamb that just melts in your mouth. It's so good.
It sounds good.
It's pretty bomb.
Hell yeah.
So you mentioned that you felt like you didn't really have things figured out until a couple of months ago. Did you say that earlier, or did I just put words in your mouth?
I think we were talking about like maybe when I graduated, I didn't really have things figured out.
I thought you had made a comment like up until a few months ago, you felt like you didn't really have like a solid game plan for your life. Did I just make that up? Am I just tired? Too much rambler?
Maybe I said it. I don't know.
Well, talk to me about. So fast forward to today a little bit. Then,
Yep.
so what are you up to now, and what's sort of your goals for the future with where you're at in life right now?
Yeah. So I guess as of pretty recent, I finalized working in the insurance field. And me and my business partner, we ended up acquiring a debt collections agency.
Okay.
So you probably don't know how the process works because you look like a guy who pays your bills.
I know how accounts receivable works.
Yeah.
I did that for a little bit. People don't pay their bills. You add in a little bit of interest at 30 days. You add a little bit more late fees at 60 days, at 90 days, 120 days. And then if they still haven't paid the business, that's when you write it off. And you write the liability off your books. You essentially sell it to the debt collectors, which is muy mal. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And then that's where you come in,
Yes,
I would
sir.
imagine.
Yeah.
We don't like you. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Nah, I
love
mean,
you, brother.
not a lot of people do like the debt collection agencies. Definitely not.
That's essentially how you get into that, though, right? Is you just stop paying your bills, and then eventually someone's going to come trying to collect on that debt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the process works pretty much what you just said. Like usually after 90 days or something like that, a business will get tired of trying to track somebody down and kind of collect on their receivables, and then they're just like, hey, like we exhausted our attempts. Can you guys help us out? And there are a lot of debt collection agencies that'll actually buy the debt. But usually that comes in the form of like buying it like as a debt portfolio as a whole, not just from like an individual client. We right now are just strictly just third party collections. We don't own any of the debt. We just get contracts, get contracts to basically say, hey, we have the right to collect this debt for you. Basically a 90-day contract. If they want to extend it, they can. And if we collect, then we take a fee from that.
And why'd you get into this business specifically?
I don't think it was about debt collection specifically. I think it was, so I guess to back up a little bit, I mean, I've always wanted to, so I did a little bit of like real estate investing back when I was in upstate New York. So like long-term rentals, just a small portfolio of units. And I think it was cash flowing pretty well, but I always had this idea of I want to, do my own thing, work for myself. And I realized that if I just want to get there quicker, then going the real estate route is probably going to take a little bit longer. I'm like, I want to do it now. And I think the best way to do that like right now is to buy a cash flowing asset like a small business. So we pretty much just had our metrics in mind as far as like this is what we want for profitability. Mm-hmm. Have they been around for at least 5 years that we were looking at? So are they credible? Are they growing in revenue? And is this also something that we could see ourselves running? I mean, there's some opportunities that we kind of passed up where we're like, okay, like, like nail salon, okay, it has good cash flow, but do we really want to, run this thing? So it just came down to profitability and the ability to potentially scale it.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you just reminded me of a scene from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You ever watch it?
I love Breaking Bad.
You remember when they finally met Saul and he was trying to help them launder their money? And so he brought Jesse to a manicure, pedicure.
Yeah.
It was like that Asian run joint. And he was like, it's clean, it's cash flow positive. And he was trying to get Walt and Jesse to buy it, and they just were not having it. Enter Skylar. And then they ended up going the car washing route instead. Skylar, hate. I have such a love-hate relationship with her because on one hand, like, she was a good guy. Like, she was caught up in the series of unfortunate events, but at the same time, she's such a bitch.
Oh my God, she would piss me off like a lot because she would always switch up. Yeah. She'd be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this with you, Walt," and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, there's some money here. Maybe I'll help you cook the books," and then when it comes to the end of everything, then she wants to, kind of separate. But then I guess Walt did kill her sister's husband.
Yeah.
So, it's give or take.
It's give or take.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. What was his name?
Hank.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was obviously a deal breaker. But before that, everything leading up to that, I think that I agree 100%. The most frustrating part with her was she was Team Walt, or I'm fully against you and using all my resources, or I'm Team Walt again. And it was just like, pick a fucking side already. Like,
the inconsistency is real. I would run for the hills if I was Walt.
Yeah, for real. Real quick, before I ask you my next question, I'm going to grab myself another Rambler. Would you like anything from the kitchen, my friend? I have Waterloos, if Rambler is not up to your expectation.
This is really good. I'm like halfway through, so I think I'm good.
You're good for now?
Probably take another Zin, though.
Take two. Put one in each corner. Throw 4 up in there.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
What flavor did you choose?
The yellow one.
Citrus.
Yeah. I don't even know the flavors. I just kind of say, hey, I want that one.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I like having these are sort of my 3 go-tos because I have cinnamon with my coffee in the morning, citrus whenever I'm drinking Waterloos, and then mints after a meal. And that's sort of my killer trifecta.
Damn. And then a little bit of what was it? DMP? Yeah.
You forgot?
How could I?
It's so easy. David's magical powder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a couple servings when you leave if you want to try it.
Yeah. What's the caffeine look like in that?
So that's why I made it. There is none.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no caffeine.
A lot of beta alanine.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So basically, most of the time, I lift in the evenings, anywhere between like 4 and 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like what can I do better over the next couple months, and my sleep is absolute shit. So I went through this phase where I was picking up a lot of those THC drinks, and I was drinking some of those before I went to bed, and those would help me fall asleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I really just wanted to get to a point where I could go to bed and just fall asleep on my own.
Yep.
So the first week, dude, was absolute hell. And I was like, man, I'm taking pre-workout at like 5, 6, 7 at night. I'm sucking on Zins until like 10 p.m. at night. No wonder I'm tossing and turning all night and I quote unquote need, a THC infused beverage to get myself to sleep. So right now I'm in a phase where I completely cut out all the THC drinks. I'll definitely have them in the future at like social events and whatnot. But for now, while I'm trying to get my sleep under control, I'm stopping Zins between like 5 and 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stopping caffeine around like 12 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the reason I created DMP was because I wanted a non-caffeinated pre-workout that was still loaded with beta alanine. So I could almost get the placebo effect of having the tingles up and down my arms and my head and my chest, but then not be tossing and turning because I'm drinking 220 milligrams of caffeine at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So that is the history of why DMP got created in the first place.
No, that's good. I definitely want to try it because I usually only lift like midday during the week, but also if I take like a really like good pre-workout like Bucked Up or something that's very high in caffeine, if I work out at 2 o'clock, I'm still gonna have trouble sleeping.
How are you sleeping these days?
I sleep pretty good. I sleep about 8 hours a day. My watch says I get a good amount of REM sleep, so maybe it's the truth, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Well, if the watch says it.
Yeah, this watch messes with me sometimes. You get stuck looking at your body battery. It's like, hey, I just had a great night of sleep. And then all of a sudden you look at your body battery and it's like 45, and I'm like, well, now my day's ruined.
But is it mismatched in the sense of like, does it ever tell you your body battery is low? And you're like, that's weird. I feel like I'm on fucking top of the world right now.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, where it says it's high, and you're like, ugh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, all the time. So I don't know how accurate this is. I've been thinking into switching to another watch, maybe like Whoop or something like that. I think it's a little bit more accurate, but I don't know. I think it can be a blessing and a curse because, you're looking at your steps, your heart rate, your body battery, but then you're also just kind of fixating on it all the time. Like, what are my numbers? So
I think you should burn it.
Yeah.
I got a fireplace over there if you want to throw a few logs on your way out, and we'll throw the watch in there and pour some DMP on top of it, light that thing up, and
Yeah, we can destroy it after.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm gonna ask you a series of questions,
Okay.
and I will tell you why I'm asking them after I ask you,
Okay.
and whatnot, and we'll just see where this goes. Um, and if you need some context to any of them, I'll give it to you. But for the first part, I'll just ask you the question and see how you answer.
Okay.
Do you have an immigrant mentality?
Immigrant mentality.
This is people who have moved from their hometown or even from their home country.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. We know this one.
Yeah.
You moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you feel like people can never or rarely guess your opinions? For example, this could be things that are unexpected, such as a boxer that writes poetry, the advertiser obsessed with the history of war. In other words, your beliefs don't line up with the stereotypes of someone who's into bodybuilding, finance, fraternities, etc.
I feel like you should never judge a book by its cover. So, I mean, yeah, you could just look at the dude in the gym that looks like a meathead, but also he's like a 7, 8 figure successful like entrepreneur, you know?
So is there anything about you where, and first off, I agree, because I have judged people's books by their covers, and then I get to know them, and I'm like, God damn it, I was so wrong. And then I feel like the asshole. Do you have any hobbies, interests, anything about you that might seem unexpected?
Maybe not unexpected, but I mean, I hope, I know that's why I'm doing it, but I hope you know that like I'm into fitness and stuff. If you look at me, that's kind of one of the reasons I work out as far as, looking good, feeling good, longevity. I like to read. Maybe that's something that someone wouldn't guess about me.
I think people guess that about everyone these days. I feel like reading is sort of something that not a lot of, and I could be so wrong. Again, this is my stereotypes coming out, right? But I feel like people don't read. Like when I grew up, we grew up on books. We had Nintendo, we had PlayStation, we had Sega Genesis, we had laser tag, we were doorbell ditching. So it's not like we were just sitting reading all day. But when I talk to like different teens around Austin, I feel like reading is something that's just not as prevalent as it used to be.
Yeah, no, I like reading a lot. I'm not big into, what is it, audiobooks. For some reason, I love podcasts, but I don't like audiobooks because I feel like I need to like touch it in order to absorb the information.
Yeah.
So yeah, reading is a hobby of mine. I mean, I feel like I'm a simple dude. I like to read. I like business. I like fitness. I like wakeboarding. I haven't done wakeboarding since I've been out here. But I used to have like a boat back in upstate New York. It wasn't like one that had like makes the wake on the back or whatever, but pretty much just tie a rope
Yep.
and just gun it and then just, hey, let's see how long you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, did you have any weird teenage hobbies?
I rode bikes. I was into BMXing. I don't know if that's weird, but
Maybe as a teen, when's like the prime age to be in BMX? Is it when you're younger?
probably. I mean, I feel like you don't see a lot of adults BMXing.
Yeah.
And if you do, they're probably really good, but like right now, like I wouldn't want to BMX because I'd probably hurt myself.
Yeah, your body is a little bit more. You can take those falls when you're younger.
Oh yeah, I used to. Yeah, I can't believe like some of those falls. Like you just fall, scrape yourself, get back up, and not feel anything the next day. Now I go and play basketball or something, and I'm hurting for like 3 or 4 days at least.
Yeah. Let's see here. Do you have anyone in your life where you may be mean to them to their face, but nice to them behind their back? Or, if you're not this person, do you have someone in your life that you feel treats you like this? Where they're mean to your face, but they have your back when it matters.
I feel like that's like some of my best friendships. Like like we're assholes to each other. We're always just like, shooing the shit, you're a little bitch, this and that. Like, just like banter and stuff like that. But when it really comes down to it, then yeah, they got your back.
Yeah, I was about to start making fun of you in the gym, and then that guy took my thunder. I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
Hey, dick, that was my line.
Yeah.
You took my lines from me.
Yeah. So I can tell you if that happened and like another one of my friends were there or whatever, they would probably they it's a blessing and a curse because a lot of them would be like, all right, yeah, let's get him then or whatever. But then
Let's get him.
you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, I don't know, but they would definitely have my back when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you think there's anyone in your life who you would call for help if you were? Sorry, let me rephrase this. Do you think there's anyone in your life who would call you for help if they were stuck in a third world dungeon or an island?
Yeah, I think so.
Zach?
Probably, yeah. He'd probably call me like, yo, like help me out, send
Your
me some
sister?
money. My sister, I hope so. um, yeah, I feel like there'd be a couple people. I'd probably say, yeah, Ryle, sister, parents.
Who would you call?
Who would I call?
You're stuck on an island. You have one phone call.
One phone call.
Yep.
I'd probably call my mom
Why?
because she's likely going to answer.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Do you feel you can change the energy in a room when you enter it?
I think so. I think I can. It just depends like what mental state you're in, I guess. But I mean, if it's like a room full of like negative people, 20, 30, 40 people, I don't think me myself is going to change the energy of that. I'll try.
But in general, normal rooms where it's,
Yeah.
you've got a little mix of everyone.
I think so. Yeah.
You know what I like about you? As soon as you walked out the door and greeted me this morning, you had a big smile on your face.
I was happy. I was happy to get a pump in.
I think that there's something to be said for that. Because then the person you're smiling at immediately knows that they're happy to see you without you even having to say anything. It sort of puts you at ease a little bit.
Yeah, I was excited. Got a really good night of rest. Nice Friday reset. Wake up early, walk the dog, get a pump. Now we're doing a podcast.
Fuck yeah. Do you have someone in your life that you think has this effect? Where when you see them walk in a room, the energy sort of shifts a little bit.
Probably my godfather, who was also my teacher in high school. But he's just a very influential person that can also it's kind of hard to be like negative or like mad like around this dude. He's just like a very cheery, happy dude, and I mean, I don't know like one person that doesn't like him. So usually I think when he comes in the room, people get happy.
What's his name?
Charlie Giulio.
Charlie Giulio.
Giulio.
Giulio?
Like Giulio.
Oh, Giulio.
Yeah. It's a weird Italian name. It's like Giglio.
You have a little bit of Italian in you, don't you?
No, I don't.
You do have a little bit of an accent, though. Is that like an upstate New York? It's very faint, but every now and then you'll say certain words where I'm like, oh, there's Mikey.
Yeah, I think it's probably a New York thing.
I think so. Yeah,
You know?
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't have a tan. I think I have a little bit. We were talking about this before, but I don't know. I think we have a little bit of German and Irish.
Do you know where your grandparents lived, by chance?
My grandparents, I mean, they were also the same hometown. I don't know about my great grandparents or my
So you guys
great
have been
great.
in New York for a few generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question from this list. Do you have courage of your convictions? In other words, do you have the confidence to do what you think is right, even when those observing may not agree or approve?
Yeah. I feel like I've always been kind of just do what I think, and it is tough sometimes if you got like one group and they have like a specific belief or like mindset, and then you're like, no, like I want to do this. Sometimes that's not going to work the best in your favor. You'd be like, oh, why is he thinking like that, or like why is he being different? But yeah, I mean, usually if I think something, I'm probably going to say it. So could be good or bad.
I think it's mostly good.
Yeah.
Yeah. it depends on the context, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
are you familiar with the concept of agency?
No.
So these are basically questions that are signs that people have high agency versus low agency. And obviously, it's only 7 questions, so it's just something to sort of get the ball rolling. It's not an exhausted list, but essentially, high agency people are ones that have a mentality of I happen to life, and I have the ability to enact change. Whereas low agency people are the kind of people where life happens to me. So low agency people are the kind where like they're sort of almost like ping-ponging through life. This thing happens and it quote unquote forces me to pivot and I just go along with it. Whereas high agency people are the type of people where when life comes at you and says this business is going to work out, is not going to work out, you buckle down and you make it work anyways, even though the odds might be against you.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you know what sort of the definition of high agency versus low agency is, do you think you lean more high agency or more low agency or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think definitely high agency. And I guess just going to your example about, you know, someone having an opinion of a business or an idea not working out. I also think that depends on who the opinion's coming from. Um, I don't take a lot of, I don't take the opinions too seriously of someone that who's never done it or has like no knowledge of the subject. But then the other side of it, if someone knows like a lot about the subject and they've done it or know somebody that's done it, like very in depth, then I'm gonna take their opinion all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you've been all over the world. Maybe not all over the world, but you've gone to a few places. You've left the U.S. When was your first time leaving the United States? Where'd you go and why'd you do it?
The first time I left the U.S. was this family trip. We went to Cancun when I was 18. Um, yeah, we just went to Cancun, went to like one of those all-inclusive resorts, and it was a mixture of like family and friends. And we were in Cancun, and I was 18, so you can drink when you're in Cancun. So
Ah.
I kind of just got really, really hammered the entire time. Um, and I remember you don't really know how to drink when you're like 18 or like how to like handle it for the most
No,
part.
you always go too fast.
Yeah, like as soon as we get to the resort, they're handing us champagne and then they're asking, "Do you want beers?" And we're just me and my buddy, we put down probably like 3 or 4 like drinks in the first like 30 minutes there, 20 30 minutes there, and my mom's just like, "Don't ruin vacation now, like pace yourself." And I'm just like, "Nah."
I'm here to party.
Yeah.
I'm 18. I'm in Cancun. Let's fucking go.
Pretty much, yeah.
When was the first time you went that wasn't with family?
mm, Trying to think. Out of the country?
Or even in the country?
Well, I guess the first time maybe out of the country without family was when I went to the Bahamas. I went to Nassau, Bahamas, and I went to Atlantis.
How was that?
Oh, it was sick.
What was it like? What'd you do?
So so it was like me, a friend, his girlfriend at the time. I had a girlfriend. We all went to. First, the plan was just to go to. There's a Hilton there in Nassau, Bahamas. But this was also during COVID,
Ah,
and the plan, because I had like points through like my Hilton account or whatever, we were literally just gonna use all the points just to pretty much go on a free vacation. So we did that, and then we were just gonna go to like Atlantis and all these other like cool resorts, just like ping around, get day passes and stuff. But it was COVID, so if you weren't a guest there, then you couldn't go. So we had fun, like the first couple nights. Like we went and partied with like the locals, like in town. This bar called the Fish Fry.
yeah.
So we were there, and it was literally like dollar drinks. So we just come with like $100, and we were buying all the locals drinks, and they were getting all hyped up and rowdy. They're letting us behind the bar. We're pouring drinks for each other. Um, yeah, smoking cigars with locals. I almost bought a puppy when I was there, but then I realized, how the hell are we gonna get a puppy home?
Right.
But they struck up a good bargain. I was like, damn, I kind of want this puppy, but we didn't get it. But then we realized we're like, damn, we can't do anything besides go to this dive bar. So we're like, want to just go to Atlantis for a couple nights? So we went to Atlantis, and it was sick. I mean, it's basically just like a huge resort. I mean, they have the signature about Atlantis is like that big water slide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I went down it. Yeah, we went down the water slide. They had a casino. They had like a lot of nice restaurants there. Good beach. It was cool. It was I'm actually going back in August for that same friend's birthday. So
Nice.
mm-hmm.
So let me go back to that list here. Between Chicago, Miami, San Diego, Nashville, Mexico, Croatia, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, plus any other places maybe you've been to that just weren't on your social media. Has there ever been anything about a way that another city or country, about their culture that you really admired, that you sort of wanted to integrate into your own life when you came back here, either to your hometown or to the States?
Yeah. So I like the favorite place that I've been so far is Switzerland, and I went to Interlaken, Switzerland. There, it's just like a beautiful, beautiful spot. I mean, you're up in the mountains. You got water that's just like probably like the clearest you've ever seen.
Yes.
We went, or I went. My friends didn't want to go, so I went by myself. Hang gliding.
They didn't want to go?
They didn't want to go. They're like, I'll see you at the bottom. I'm like, all right, well, this is where I'm landing. Get some pictures of me when I'm at the bottom.
Yeah. Make yourself useful.
Exactly. So I went up, and that was probably like the best experience I've had traveling was doing that.
How was hang gliding?
Oh, it was sick. I mean, I was gonna do skydiving, but then I'm like, oh no, I want to like be able to like take in the actual scenery instead of just like plummeting and just like thinking, am I gonna survive? There were still some like parts like of hang gliding. You're like, damn, like what if we mess up and we just like, what if we die? But
Run into a mountain on accident?
yeah, run into a mountain. But I had an instructor. He was also from the U.S., but he moved over to Interlaken to do that full time. I'm like, dude, I want your job. It's sick. But yeah, that was probably the coolest event as far as the culture goes. I mean, I liked how I did, and I didn't like how slower pace it was. Like when you go to a restaurant, they're not trying to rush you out, but also if you're in a rush, then you're like waiting. You know what I mean? But just like I guess taking things slower and actually like soaking it in instead of just always just being hustle and bustle. That was probably my favorite part about the culture, I'd say.
Um, would you go skydiving, or have you?
I haven't been, but I would.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I've been 7 times, and it gets better every time.
Yeah. Where did you go skydiving?
All of them out in California. I want to go in Texas. I have a few friends. I've been saying this for weeks. We haven't not gone for any particular reason, except none of us have just taken the initiative to say, hey, on this Saturday, let's all fucking go. That's the only reason we haven't gone yet. But to your point, yes, there is a free fall. And so you are plummeting for a little bit, for about 30 seconds, give or take, depending on how high the plane goes.
Yep.
But once you pull the chute, there is a 5 to 8 minute period where you're just
Okay, that's
hovering
cool.
above planet Earth, and you don't even feel like you're getting closer until the end. Like, even though you know you're dropping, the distance feels like it's not really closing at all. And dude, it's the most peaceful feeling. Like, you go from this adrenaline rush, like the craziest adrenaline rush you've ever had in your life, to just immediate peace. Almost like the closest thing I could attribute it to is giving out of like an ice bath or a cold plunge.
Oh, yeah?
Because you're panicking, but then it hits the 2-minute timer, 3-minute timer, however long you stay in. And then as soon as you get out, have you done a cold plunge before?
Oh, yeah.
So you know that instant relief where even though you're not warmed up yet, it's like, oh, I made it.
All those endorphins are coming out after,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should try it, especially if you're a little bit of an adrenaline junkie or you just want to try something new. It's a fun experience.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely open for that, for sure.
You have any place on your radar that's new that you want to travel to in the next couple years?
Yeah, so let's see here. I'm going to Costa Rica next month going to, I think it's called Tamarindo. Maybe I butchered that name, but it's just like it's like a beach town on the coast, of that part of the country, and there's a little bit of everything there. I mean, you can get the culture. You can go and do like the excursion, see like the jungle, the national parks, and stuff like that. But then it also has a really good like party scene too, if you want to get into that.
Yeah. We're gonna do sort of a hard pivot here. Social media.
Yeah.
Put that down on your form.
Mm-hmm.
What's your relationship like with social media?
So I think I put that down because I guess I was just trying to get your opinion on pretty much putting stuff out on the internet, and if there was like some sense of you felt like you're going to be judged when you started doing it, and like how to overcome that.
Keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. When I first started podcasting, so before that, you couldn't find anything on me online except LinkedIn.
Yeah.
No Instagram, no Facebook, no TikTok, no nothing. And there have definitely been moments where I'll go to put something out there, and I don't know that I'm necessarily worried about getting judged
Mm-hmm.
as much as just this is a piece of my life that I don't know if I want the whole world to know about. The best example I could give is last summer, there's a guest who came on, and at one point during the conversation, he sort of turned the tables on me, and he got me to talk about my dad a lot, and I was not expecting it. I had no idea the conversation was going to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
And he got me to tell the story of the last time that me and my dad talked, which was about 12 years ago, give or take. And so I remember at the time, I wasn't using Opus clips yet. I was still making all of the clips myself.
Yep.
And I thought this is potentially a really powerful story that a lot of people might be able to relate to and help people feel like they're not the only ones in this situation of coming from a home where they either don't talk to their mom or their dad or their parents divorced or whatever. And I remember the night before the episode came out, dude, I was an anxious wreck. Like I was so freaked out about it because I didn't even know why. It was so personal to me, which was ironic because I've had a lot of people on this platform to tell personal stories that, sort of put things that they might not want out there, but they've done it very courageously. And so I sort of just took their lead. It was like, I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid of either getting judged or ridiculed, or I didn't even know. I just remembered like, I'm very, very nervous about this one.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a couple people who went to the effort to find my email, which not a lot of people do, and thanked me for releasing the episode. And just the response to it was the opposite of what I was expecting. And probably the most powerful story that came from that episode specifically was one day I was working out in the gym, and this kid of like 18 years old that I'd never met, no idea who he was. I just finished a set of squats, and I see him come walking up to me, and he takes his headphones off. So I took my headphones off, and he said, "You don't want to know?" He said, "You and me have something in common." And I said, "What's that, dude?" And he said, "In your family, your dad's the monster, but in my family, it's my mom." And he sort of used that as a segue just to tell me like all this stuff about his personal life. And I'm sitting there thinking like, we don't even know each other's names yet. And this guy is like pouring out his soul to me about just all the shit that his family is putting their kids through. And so that in that moment is sort of when I realized that all the stories we're telling here, even if they're not like negative stories, right, is that this is who we are as human beings. Like this is what connects all of us regardless of our age, our gender, where we were born, is stories, and we can all relate to different things. Maybe you and me don't have the exact same story, but we can relate on different topics. And I think it's sort of the unifying web that brings us all together versus what divides us. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think I've just posted so many times now that when someone does go on and they say something shitty, it doesn't even affect me because I'm like, well, screw that person. I don't really care about you. I care about the kid that walks up to me in the gym and feels like he got a little bit of hope knowing that he's not alone, when he feels like he's at the darkest point of his life. So I don't know what content you're starting to think about maybe generating and putting out there, but I would say the last thought on your mind should be, what if people judge me for this? Because then you're holding yourself back from potentially doing something awesome that could generate revenue for you, that could change someone's life, that could be the door to your next business venture. And what if you never see that opportunity because you're worried about what people that you've never even met might think about you?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are there are just some that I'm just like, that doesn't need to be up there for whatever reason. There's just some posts where I'm like that, especially ones that Opus makes, where I'm like, nah, that doesn't need to be on the web.
Right.
If someone wants to see the full episode and they catch that, whatever. So I do use a little bit of judgment. One thing I try not to do is I try my best, and I'm not perfect at it, but I try not to just like talk shit about people. So if we were to come on here and just like, defame someone, like, I don't want to put that out there, not because I'm trying to make it look like I'm perfect, but I also didn't create a podcast just so I could talk shit about people. That's not my intention. So I would still use a little bit of judgment, but I also would say just do your thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
What kind of stuff are you thinking about putting out there?
I think for me, like, personally, like, I don't know, I had this idea about creating some sort of like a series of, where I am today with the business, and then doing like little videos about like, what did we do today in the business, as far as, did we create an SOP? What happened with, some conversations with employees? What are we doing for marketing and stuff like that? So kind of just like a day in the life, because that could be helpful to somebody else, is like, oh, I've been trying to, kind of think of ways to, structure this problem, but they don't know what to do. But also selfishly, build that content and be able to have track record of, here I was in 2025, and then here's where we grew to in 2027, and eventually get on like the radar of like some private equity firms if I ever wanted to like sell my business. So this is a combination of being, kind of selfish, but also helping other people.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I haven't told too many people is that I had my first production house approach me about an investment in February, and I wouldn't say they would have never found me if I didn't have a presence on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but it also would have been a lot harder. So to your point, I think it does a couple things, right? It builds that personal brand, like what you were saying. It puts you on the radar of people that might potentially want to do business with you. But on a personal level, it's almost like a modern day public journal. Even sometimes, dude, there have been 2 or 3 occasions where I'll just bring up the podcast and I'll just sort of thumb through all the episodes. And now that I'm 100 plus in, I sort of forget about some of the guests, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like that's right, fucking Shannon came on and she talked about that thing that was super cool, and Isaac was here and he talked about that thing, and Mikey came on and we met at the boardwalk and that was super sick. And so I almost think, it's to your point, like it is just a way for you to sort of create something for yourself where you can go back and look at those earlier posts and be like, damn, I am not the same person that I was 2 years ago, and I'm really proud of where I've came in the last 24 months.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely.
What you thinking about?
Nothing. I'm just processing, kind of all the information, and just, I think it's also about like not knowing where to start. That's what I was asking you about, like these clips and how you edit them. I'm like, oh, like it's just another thing to add to my plate,
Yeah, in a way it is, but but it could be worth it.
Yeah.
I think that's with everything, create a quick pros and cons list. Like maybe even physically write it down in a note and be like, what do I want to get out of this? Like what could be the pros, what could be the cons, and then outweigh them. And if there's more cons than pros, then maybe you go a different direction. And if there's more pros than cons, you have your answer, move forward.
Yeah.
Courageously.
I'll have to give it some more thought, definitely. And what, as far as like when you release, your content, do you kind of just bundle it up through like the week, and then you have one day where you're just like, you're going to post it all, or you kind of like spread that out?
I spread it out. So
Mm-hmm.
I usually try to release something between 7 and 8 a.m., between 1 and 2 p.m., and between 8 and 9 p.m.
So 3 posts per day.
Yeah,
And why those time frames?
because they're far away from each other.
Yeah.
This is, you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Gary V, yeah.
Yeah, Gary V, baby. Sort of just have him stuck in my head of just, you don't know when someone is going to be online and when they're going to see it. And for me, dude, I'm tired of trying to beat the algorithms. I even just talked on Thursday to a marketing team that I might work with about, having some people who are experts about beating the algorithm come in and take that weight off of my plate, who know what they're doing, and maybe they can put a little bit of strategy into it. But for me, I figure, people are, maybe drinking their coffee, getting ready for work, like maybe they're scrolling, and then I do it again around lunchtime for the same reason. Maybe people are scrolling about right now. And then sometimes in the evenings, I'll put up the more thought-provoking posts. So if there's one where like the bodybuilder I was showing you the clips of, he had a really cool segment about how he is not ashamed of the fact that even though he's this like big buff dude,
Mm-hmm.
showing like his compassionate side, his happy side, and how
Yeah.
some men in modern day, think like we always have to be tough and whatnot. And so like some of those more clips that might be a little bit of a hot take, I'll put those in the evening, somewhat evilly, I guess, because I want to give something for people to really digest as they go to bed and as they can sort of think about it. Because if they see that in the morning and then they go off to work and then the gym and then all this throughout their day, they might not think about it again. But if I hit them at nighttime, when they have nothing else going on, I'm hoping maybe I can get their wheels turning about like how can I use this in my own life, and maybe it'll keep them up for a little bit at night, and they'll be sitting there in bed thinking about it for a few minutes.
Yeah. Did that come from Gary V's book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I I have that book, and it's just been sitting on my shelf. So maybe I should open it and give it a read, because it could probably be beneficial. It sounds like.
It's a fun read. It's so some books are more dense than others.
Yeah.
That book is a very easy read with lots of practical tips. You'll get a ton out of it.
Is it jab, jab, right hook, or is it jab, jab, left hook? Or
I don't know,
yeah, it's something about a hook.
but it's definitely jab jab hook.
Yeah.
Dude, what else did you want to talk about today? Is there anything that you had in mind as you were getting ready for today that we haven't brought up yet?
I don't know. I mean, I think we hit on everything as far as, past life, current life, where we're trying to go to now, the social media thing. I mean, I'm down to talk about anything.
Where you sit right now,
Yep.
where do you see your life going? Like what's your vision? And obviously things change. So this vision could change next week, next month, next year. But with where you sit right here today, where do you want to see your life go in the next couple of years?
Yeah. I mean, I actually gave this a lot of thought. Going back to your point of vision, I don't know if you ever read a book called Vivid Vision.
Mm-mm.
I think his name's Cameron Harold, I want to say, but basically the main point of the book is to write like a detailed document of what your life would look like, and you write it in the present day tense. So basically you're looking into the future like 3 years. And it's like a very detailed document. You think you're like, oh, I could do this in like an hour or something. But then you really think about it. You're like, oh, what do I want? Like, where do I want to be? Like, what are my goals? So I've done a couple of those in the past, and I think right now the main thing that I want to focus on is growing the business, and in like 3 years be able to really get to that point where I can have an option to sell it, as far as selling it to private equity or getting some sort of valuation out of it. And then also kind of splitting time between Austin and then like upstate New York. I mean, I've always wanted to have a lake house up there, and that's like one of my main goals right now is to get the business flowing, get to a point where I can have some of my time back, and then also focus on just creating good relationships and not like stuck into the weeds of like everyday business and life,
Hmm.
but like literally just setting time blocks of like half a day every day to focus on building and maintaining relationships.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, that's my main focus right now: building a business, building relationships, and getting that lake house eventually.
Lake house. What kind of relationships do you want to build?
Um, I mean, obviously, it's good to have both like the business and then the personal ones, but I think probably a lot of people get stuck into the networking aspect of like I have to meet everybody,
Yeah,
and I don't like that
me neither.
because it's very transactional. It's very who do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Don't like that. That's another reason I kind of left the corporate world. It's because it's like all these relationships are just fake. Like you know what I want, you know what they know what.
You know what they want. You
Yeah,
know what
exactly.
Yeah.
And just focusing. I don't know. I feel like the best like relationship or like the best opportunities are gonna come from like those personal relationships. Like just going to the gym with somebody, doing it like that. Um, just like doing like stuff that you're already going to do, and just like inviting people to do it,
Hmm.
but not getting caught up in the aspect of like I need to meet this many people this month just to have numbers. I'd rather have probably 5 close connections than just like 400 to 500 just you know people that I've just spoken to a couple times.
Yeah. Well, hey, on May 31st, that's a Saturday, I have a group of guys that we keep pretty small intentionally, but we go out to dinner about once every 3 months. And if you would like to come with us, there's usually about 5 to 10 of us there, just depending on who's around. But if you would like the details and you want to come for one of those, something that's a lot more intimate and personal, versus the networking event and like seeing how many hands I can shake, but actually getting to sit down with 7 or 8 other people that live in Austin and be able to break bread together and just have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to come to that, I'd love to extend you an invite.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Definitely send me the details.
I'll
and
send you a text.
yeah, okay.
All right. Only 2 questions left for you. What's your superpower?
Superpower, huh? I think I have a superpower of maybe it's just me thinking I have a superpower, but I think I'm pretty good at reading people, like knowing their intentions off the start of like when you meet them. Like is it just like an ordinary I don't know, like conversation, like are they scanning the room? Are they like actually talking to you? Are they full of bullshit? That's basically what I look for. I'm like, this guy's. Sometimes like, oh yeah, okay, I could probably see myself like hanging out with this dude. Other times, just like, this dude's just very transactional, like, full of shit. Like, I don't see. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say just like reading people for the most part.
Why'd you end that by saying, I don't know? Do you not trust your own superpower?
um, no, I think I do. I think it served me pretty well. Um, but then sometimes, I mean, there'd be like some outliers where I'm like, okay, maybe I had the wrong read on somebody. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like I can, you know, sense if somebody's, genuine or just kind of like I said before, like full of shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird thinking how we met, and I've been trying in a perfect world. I probably get 80% of my guests right now through online and 20% through approaching people like I did with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be sort of cool if that was flip-flopped one day. Because when I meet someone in person, even though we have the phone call, like I mentioned,
Yep.
when I meet someone in person, I agree. I feel like I can get a sense from them pretty quick. And even if I don't know what we'll talk about, I'm like, this Mikey guy, he's okay. Let's get him on.
He's
the
a little rough
podcast."
around the edges, but
Yeah, but he's just unrough enough. I think he could do a good job.
yeah.
But there have been people that I've gone to talk to, and sometimes I'll just go up to strangers and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, my name is David. I have a podcast here in town. What would you talk about if you came on?" And within like 3 minutes, I'm like, I would not want you on.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to come up with other lines for how can I introduce myself to people to get a feel for who they are before I extend the invite. That way, I'm leaving myself an out. So if they do seem like they're not what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
I haven't already pre-committed to something in a way. and then I don't have to reject them later.
That
If
makes
sense.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's a good way to go about it. Definitely. You just don't want to invite everybody, that you see out. It's just like yeah. I mean, it just goes back to reading people and seeing if something's good going to come from it, I guess.
Yeah. I lied. I have one more question before the final one. Did this help prep you for next weekend? Do you feel a little bit better going into that conversation now that you've sort of gone through, you've had the experience of showing up to the studio, doing some Q&A? How are you feeling right now?
I feel good. I think it flowed better than I thought it was going to flow.
Thanks.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
not
I'm kidding.
like just from like I don't know. I'm just like I don't even know I don't even know how to go about this. I mean, you see podcasts all the time online and whatnot, but it's just like it really is, I guess, just about the person that's asking the questions, and then actually having some decent answers too. I guess that's helpful.
Yeah.
But I feel good. I feel better, definitely.
I think if I could give you a challenge, this podcast is a little bit. I feel like it's easier for first timers because we're talking about the journey that you've been on. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly just diving into your own memories and being like, how do I want to answer this? But maybe something you could think of about over the next couple months is what are you a subject matter expert in, and how do you become even more of a subject expert matter on that topic than you already are?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you feel like you're an expert on at the moment?
I wouldn't say an expert, but I think there's a lot of people out there right now that are looking to say quit their job or like buy a business or something like that, and I guess I could have some practical tips for doing that. But also don't want to do it in a lame way because there's thousands of people on the internet that are also doing the same thing. But maybe put a little little flavor on it, a little touch on it, and make it more about I don't know, work-life balance and just overall like just balance as a whole, I guess.
Put the Mikey flavor on it.
Yeah, exactly. Put the spice.
Yeah. All right, here's your final question. So one of my new traditions that I've not been doing as consistently as I've meant to, but I'm doing an okay job at it, is jotting down questions that are asked in other podcasts that I listen to that I really like, and then asking them of my guests to see how they would answer them.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I want to throw your way is... All right, I'll just ask you sort of a fun one. If you could impose a global law, but only one global law, what would it be and why?
I think... Okay, I mean, you said you didn't want to talk about politics, but this is just like a general blanket statement.
Right.
So I guess like in order, maybe, yeah, I guess it could stretch globally, but at least like for our country, I feel like you should have to take some sort of competency like test in order to vote. I think you should be able to pass, you should have to pass a test of like some like common knowledge in order to vote, because I feel like a lot of people are just blindly voting just because what they see on the news or something like that,
So let's say you created this test.
Mm-hmm.
What would just be like one or two questions that you would think you would want to ask on it?
Very basic stuff like, who is the first president of like the United States? I don't know. I'd have to do some more research or more thinking about that, but it'd just be something very like basic. Because first it would filter out the people that actually like care. It'd take like 3 to 5 minutes, and then also you'd be able to tell like, okay, like this person's vote's like actually going to matter. Not saying that people's votes don't matter, but if you're just like, you don't know anything and you're just voting just to vote, then I mean that really skews the outcome for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of voters out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of voters, and the prerequisite right now is basically, are you breathing? You got a pulse? You're good to go.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, not even in a way. That is how it is. Dude, did you have fun today?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
All
It
right.
was good.
Well, thanks for coming on, Mikey. I appreciate you, man. Hope we can get some workouts in, some barbecue. Love to hang out with you a little bit more.
Hell yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. Sounds good. Anything else, or do you feel good on this one?
I think I feel good, man.
First episode in the books.
Yeah.
Mike Henley, everyone.
You're going to have to use your opus to kind of use your wizardry and craft some good some reels after this, but I think it went good for the most part.
It went good. I had fun. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming on. To the audience, as always, thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode of David Saturday Night Sit Back. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, do me a favor. Go on to Spotify and give the podcast a 5-star review there. Go on to Apple Podcasts where you can leave us a written review where you can either talk about what you liked about this episode specifically, or if you've been tuning in for a while, talk about what you like about the show in general and why you keep coming back. And then last but not least, go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you do these 3 things for me, which costs you no money and is only going to take about 3 to 5 minutes of your time at most, what my promise and commitment to you is that I will keep finding guests like Mike to come in, share stories that will hopefully light your internal fire to take ownership over your own life and get your journey going in the direction that you want it to go. So with that being said, everyone, stay healthy, stay happy, and have a good Saturday night. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.